need to find a basis for the row space of this matrix A, and secondly also to find the dimension of the row space of A, right? So before getting on to the basis, we need to change this given matrix into the row echelon form, right? For that, we need to make this first element to be the leading entry, and that should be 1. So how can I get 1 over here? If I interchange this row 3 to this row 1, I can get this one over here, right? So let's apply the first row operation, that is interchanging the row 1 with row 3. So writing here 1 minus 3, 8, 5, second row as it is, and third row is replaced with the first row, right? So I get 1 over here. Now to make this the leading element, these two elements should be 0, right? So how to get 0 over here? If I multiply the first row with -2 and adding the resultant elements to the second row, I can get here 0, right? So changing the second row by adding its elements to the row 1, but the elements of the row should be first multiplied with -2. So -2 into 1 is -2, adding this to 2 we get 0. -2 multiplied with -3 is 6, adding this to -1 it becomes 5. -2 multiplied with 8 we get -16, and adding this to 6 we get -10. Multiplying -2 with 5 we get -10, and adding this to 0 we get -10, right? So this is your second row, and writing the first and the third row as it is. Now to get 0 over here, what should I do? Again, I multiply the first row with now -3 and adding the resultant elements to the row 3, right? So now changing the row 3 by adding its elements to the row 1, but row 1 should be first multiplied with -3. So multiplying 1 with -3 we get -3, and adding this to 3 we get 0. Multiplying -3 with -3 we get 9, and adding this to 1 we get 10. Multiplying 8 with -3 we get -24, and adding this to 2 we get -22. Multiplying 5 with -3 we get -15, and adding this to -1 we get -16, right? So now this element becomes your leading element, right? Now for the second non-zero row, this one, that is the row 2, I need to make this to be as a leading element, to make this one, and also to make other elements as 0, right? So how can I make this as 1? Just dividing the elements of the row 2 with 5, right? Or you can also say that multiplying the elements of the row 2 with 1 over 5. Then we get 1 over here. Okay, writing the first and third row as it is first. To change the row 2, applying the row operation as changing the row 2 by multiplying its elements with 1 over 5. So we get at this place 0, at this place 1, and then -2 and -2, right? So it becomes 0, this is 1, this is -2 and -2. And now to make these two elements as 0. For that, what should I do? To make -3 0, just multiply the row 2 with 3 and adding these elements to the row 1, right? So changing the row 1 by adding the elements of the row 2, but row 2 should be first multiplied with 3, right? Okay, 0 multiplied with 3 we get 0, and adding this to 1 we get 1. 1 is multiplied with 3 we get 3, and adding this to -3 we get 0. -2 multiplied with 3 get -6, and adding this to 8 we get 2. Multiplying -2 with 3 we get -6, and adding this to 5 we get -1. And writing the row 2 as it is, and row 3 also as it is. So I get 0 over here. Required to get 0 over here also. For that, just multiplying the row 2 with now minus 10 and adding these elements to the row 3, right? So required to change the row 3 and adding the elements of the row 3 to the row 2, but row 2 should be first multiplied with minus 10. Alright, 0 multiplied with minus 10 and adding this to 0 we get 0. 1 is multiplied with minus 10 and adding this to 10 we get 1. Minus 2 is multiplied with minus 10 we get 20 and adding this to minus 22 we get minus 2. Minus 2 is multiplied with minus 10 we get 20 and adding this to minus 16 we get 4. Right? So now I get 0 over here also. So this is your leading entry for the second non-zero row. Right? Furthermore, still non-zero elements are present in the row 3. So again I need to make this my leading entry. To make this 1. Now how to get 1 over here? Just dividing the row 3 with minus 2 or multiplying the row 3 with minus 1 over 2, right? So writing the elements of the first and second row as it is, and the row operation is multiplying the row 3 with minus 1 over 2, right? Multiplying 0 with minus 1 over 2 we get 0. Multiplying 0 with minus 1 over 2 we get 0. Multiplying minus 2 with minus 1 over 2 we get 1. Multiplying 4 with minus 1 by 2 we get minus 2. Right? Now I get 1 over here. To make this leading entry, I need to make these two elements to be 0, 0 now. Right? How can I get 0 in place of 2? Yes. If I multiply the row 3 with minus 2 and adding the elements of the row 3 to row 1. So I need to change the row 1, right? So applying the operation, row 1 is changed by adding the elements of the row 1 to the elements of the row 3, but row 3 should be first multiplied with minus 2, right? Okay. 0 is multiplied with minus 2 and adding this to 1 we get 1. 0 is multiplied with minus 2 we get 0 and adding this 0 to this 0 we get 0. 1 is multiplied with minus 2 we get minus 2 and adding this to 2 we get 0. Multiplying minus 2 with minus 2 we get 4 and adding this 4 to minus 1 we get 3, right? Writing the second and third row as it is. Now to make this element as 0, how do I get 0 over here? If I multiply the row 3 with 2 and adding the elements to the row 2, right? So I'm going to change the row 2 and adding the elements of the row 2 to the row 3, but row 3 elements should be first multiplied with 2. 0 is multiplied with 2 we get 0 and adding this to 0 it becomes 0. 0 is multiplied with 2 we get 0 and adding this 0 to this one it becomes 1 only, no change. 1 is multiplied with 2 and adding this 2 to this minus 2 we get 0. Multiplying this minus 2 with 2 we get minus 4 and adding this to minus 2 it becomes minus 6. So I get 0 and 0 now over here also. So this becomes now the leading entry. So now I got all these 3, 1, 1, 1 to be the leading entries of these non-zero rows, right? Now this is your row echelon matrix, right? Because we get leading entry in every non-zero row and there is no other zero row. So therefore, what are the bases? From the first row we get 1, 0, 0, 3. From the second row we get 0, 1, 0, minus 6 and from the third row we get 0, 0, 1, minus 2. So these forms the basis for the row space of A. How many number of elements are present in the basis? 3 elements, right? 1, 2 and 3. So the dimension of row space of A is 3, right? Okay, thank you.